Good afternoon, Lovier Rates Nation. Happy Friday. As always, wearing red, R-E-D. Remember, everyone deployed. I want to shout out to our military families who are serving. Greatly appreciate all you do. So thanks for joining us, me today. Just want to point out this is not live today, so sorry. I know it's Facebook Live, but we're cheating a little bit today. But feel free to post your comments, your questions. We will respond to them as soon as we get to them, okay? So again, this is Maurice. If you've seen me a few times, hopefully, not being live, I can do maybe a little better job, right? So today we're going to talk about assets, okay? So what are assets? So the classic definition is that it's an economic resource. Again, what does that mean? Okay, so something of value, something that, and specifically here, monetary value, okay? So what are they? We've gone over. Why am I even talking about it? Well, if you've done a loan before, or doing one now, or been doing some research about doing a loan in the future, you may have come across this term and why a lender may require assets. Now, there are a bunch of many different reasons why. Mainly, oftentimes if you're looking to purchase, for example, and the VA says you get 100% financing, no down payment requirement. Great, right? That means I don't have to bring any cash to the close. Well, I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago, I went a little bit over that, so I don't want to, repeat. But sometimes there is some money that you have to bring out of pocket to cover closing costs, because the VA says they can go up to the value of the property. Anything above that, you are responsible for it, unless you can get the seller to take care of that, get some seller concessions, or get the lender to offer a credit to cover those things. Well, let's say you don't do any of those. You don't get the seller to cover it, or there's something out of pocket. Well, the lender has to verify that you have money or assets to cover those closing costs. So what kind of examples do we have of assets? So we've got a house here, we got a bag of money. Money will definitely can work. 401k, car, so retirement, and so forth. So those are assets. But not all of those, as you know, a house, that doesn't mean that you can use the money immediately. Okay, so there's a term that we use called liquid assets. Okay, that means that it's not a glass of water or a drink or anything like that. It has nothing to do with it. It just means that it's fluid. It's easily accessible. So how would a car be an asset? Well, if you own it free and clear, and you can easily sell it, then it does have some value to it. So it can be used as an asset. It's not liquid, but unfortunately, a lot of us have loans against our cars, or it's not easy to sell it, or you may end up selling it for less than what the loan that you have on it will be. So again, and the reason I mentioned this example is because I'm working on a loan and the borrower actually asked that. Well, I've got a car, can I use that? It's really hard to use a car as an asset because it's not very liquid. So typically what is liquid though is obviously having cash on it, in a savings account, a checking account. So I want to verify that. If you've got a retirement plan, you might be able to access that sooner than before you retire. You might not have access to all of it. Just keep that in mind. Each retirement plan's got different stipulations, different rules, and that's something that your lender will need to see. So even though you may have $40,000 in your retirement plan, that doesn't mean you can just pull out $40,000. And especially sometimes there's a penalty for pulling it early. So we do have to verify. Okay, we need to see how much you have that is liquid. We also need to source it. So just because let's say you've got a savings account and you've got quite a bit of money there, all right? But when a lender asks for bank statements, they typically ask for 2 months of bank statements. Okay, well, it showed up here, this last month's statement, but the previous month, the previous statement, it's not there. Where did it come from? It just didn't magically appear, and we're looking at your income and we see, well, that's not a normal income that you're getting. So then we have to make sure that it's seasoned. Seasoned means that we have to show a certain period of time that you've had it, and therefore we can say, yeah, this is his, this is theirs. This is not some mysterious money that just appeared in his bank account, even though we'd all love that. So typically 2 months, 60 days is the seasoning requirement. So if you've had it there for 2 months, 2 bank statements show it, we're good to go. But if it did magically appear, or you got a transfer, or you got we do have to source it. What that means, we need to find out where it came from, and if it's gifted to you, if it's legitimately yours. The VA says you can get gift funds, so that's okay. I don't want you to worry about that. But we probably need to make sure that that person really did give you those funds to be used for this, and that they are not expecting it back, that it's legitimately yours. So a couple of things to think about when you're preparing to purchase. That way you make sure, okay, if I'm going to do these things, I want to have all my ducks lined up. And so you want to make sure that it's you've got a source for that it's seasoned, because believe me, you're a loan officer. They're gonna ask those questions. The other thing too, another reason you may have to need, you may require assets, is if you have investment properties. So if you're getting a new loan, but you've got investment properties, the VA and lenders want to make sure that you can afford a new payment or a higher payment or whatever it is. If you're buying a new house and so forth, if you're adding that, they want to make sure that you can afford. What happens if one of your tenants leaves the house and they can't make those payments? Do you have enough in reserves to cover that mortgage payment on those investment properties for a few months? So oftentimes you'll need anywhere between 3 and 6 months of the house payment in reserves. That doesn't mean you need to bring it to the closing, doesn't mean you need to give it to us, but we do need to make sure that you have that in reserves, meaning as a backup, just in case, and that it's liquid in case you do have to deal with that. So there are those are a few reasons why we need assets. So a couple of things to think about as you want to make your case to your loan officer. Here are a few ideas. If you've got any questions or comments, again, feel free to post them. We'll get to them as soon as possible. Anyway, it's a pleasure to chat with you guys again. All right, happy Friday.